Have you ever pondered on the idea that opposites not only exist, but are necessary for life as we know it? We're venturing on a journey today, and our destination, the intriguing world of polarity. In our universe, the law of polarity dictates that everything has an opposite. It's a principle that's woven right into the fabric of existence, and without it, our world would be unrecognizable. But who discovered this law? How did they stumble upon such a profound concept? And more importantly, how does this law differ from the law of correspondence? These are the questions we'll be exploring in this video, providing you with a deeper understanding of these philosophical concepts and their significance. So buckle up, because we're about to embark on a thought-provoking expedition into the realm of polarity. Join us on this philosophical journey as we delve into the world of polarity. Picture yourself in ancient China, the birthplace of the concept of polarity. This is where our journey begins, in the hallowed halls of ancient philosophy, where scholars contemplated the mysteries of the universe. The law of polarity, as we understand it today, has its origins rooted in this ancient wisdom. The Chinese philosophers, deeply attuned to the natural world, observed the interplay of opposing forces. They recognized the balance between light and dark, hot and cold, male and female, active and passive. They realized that these opposites were not separate entities, but rather two sides of the same coin. They called this concept yin and yang. Yin and yang, these two primal forces, symbolize the dynamic interdependence of opposites. Yin, the dark swirl, represents passivity, coolness, femininity, and the moon. Yang, the light swirl, stands for activity, warmth, masculinity, and the sun. Together they depict the harmony of opposing forces, constantly shifting and balancing each other, never static, but always in flux. This profound understanding of nature, of the interconnectedness of all things, is at the heart of the law of polarity. The Chinese philosophers taught that everything has an opposite, and that these opposites are not in conflict, but in harmony. They believed that the existence of one depends on the other, and that they are bound together in a dance of perpetual balance. As we move forward in time, this understanding of interdependent opposites permeated into Western thought. The ancient Greeks, Romans, and later the Renaissance thinkers all grappled with this concept, each adding their own interpretations and layers of understanding. From the calm reflection of ancient Chinese philosophers to the bustling discourse of the Renaissance, the idea of polarity has evolved, matured, and expanded. Yet the core remains the same: the recognition of the inherent balance and harmony in the universe, the understanding that everything has an opposite, and that these opposites are interconnected and interdependent. This ancient wisdom laid the groundwork for what we now call the law of polarity. So, what exactly is the law of polarity, you may ask? Let's dive in. In the simplest of terms, the law of polarity posits that everything has an opposite. This is not just about physical phenomena like the north and south poles of a magnet, or the positive and negative charges in electricity. It extends to abstract concepts as well, such as love and hate, peace and war, happiness and sadness. However, the law of polarity goes beyond just stating that opposites exist. It emphasizes that these opposites are not separate entities, but different manifestations of the same thing. They are two sides of the same coin, if you will. Think about it. Can you truly understand what happiness is without experiencing sadness? Can you fully appreciate peace without knowing what war is? These opposites help to define each other. They exist in relation to each other, not in isolation. Furthermore, the law of polarity suggests that everything exists on a continuum and can be measured on a scale. For instance, temperature isn't just hot or cold, but a spectrum of degrees from freezing cold to burning hot. Similarly, our emotions aren't binary, but a spectrum from extreme joy to deep sorrow. The law of polarity also tells us that opposites are interdependent. You can't have one without the other, they balance each other out. In the natural world, this balance is crucial for harmony and stability. In our personal lives, understanding the law of polarity can help us navigate our emotions and experiences better. Knowing that joy and sorrow are but two sides of the same coin can help us embrace the full spectrum of our human experience. It can teach us to find balance, to appreciate the good times more because we've known the bad, and to find hope in the midst of despair, knowing that it's part of the same cycle. In essence, the law of polarity teaches us that opposites are not separate, but rather two sides of the same coin. It's a powerful concept that can help us understand the world around us and our place in it. Now that we understand the law of polarity, let's move to another intriguing principle, the law of correspondence. The law of correspondence is an ancient principle, weaving its threads through various philosophies and spiritual traditions across the globe. It's a concept that, despite its age, is as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. So, what exactly is the law of correspondence? In its simplest form, it suggests that patterns repeat across different levels of reality. This principle is elegantly encapsulated in the phrase, "as above, so below," suggesting that what happens on one level of existence also happens on another. Imagine it like this. The macrocosm, the universe at large, mirrors the microcosm, the individual, and vice versa. A galaxy swirling in space might reflect the pattern of an atom's electrons orbiting its nucleus. The cycles of nature, like the changing seasons, could mirror the phases of human life. This principle extends beyond just the physical world. It also applies to our thoughts, emotions, and actions. The outer world reflects our inner state of mind and vice versa. It's like looking into a mirror. What you see on the outside is a reflection of what's happening on the inside. But the law of correspondence isn't just about reflection, it's also about connection. It suggests that all things, from the tiniest particle to the largest galaxy, are interlinked. Every action, no matter how small, can ripple outwards, affecting the whole. This concept also implies that by changing something within ourselves, we can influence the world around us. By altering our thoughts and emotions, we can shift our reality, essentially becoming architects of our own universe. So, in essence, the law of correspondence is about mirroring and connection, about the dance between the macrocosm and the microcosm, about the intimate relationship between the inner and outer worlds. Essentially, the law of correspondence tells us, as above, so below. If you are interested in learning more about the law of correspondence, check the link in the description box below to watch our previous video, the Adverse Law of Correspondence. At a glance, the laws of polarity and correspondence might appear similar, but they have distinct differences. Let's dive into these differences. The law of polarity, at its core, is about opposites. It's the idea that everything in the universe has an opposite. Think of hot and cold, light and dark, good and evil. These are all examples of polar opposites. The law of polarity dictates that these opposites are simply different degrees of the same thing. For instance, hot and cold are just different degrees of temperature, while light and dark are different degrees of illumination. On the other hand, the law of correspondence is about patterns. This law posits that patterns repeat across different levels of reality. To understand this, think of a fractal. A fractal is a geometric shape that can be split into parts, each of which is a reduced scale copy of the whole. This is a perfect example of the law of correspondence in action. The same patterns repeat at different scales, from the smallest to the largest. So, while the law of polarity deals with opposites, the law of correspondence focuses on repeated patterns. These are two fundamentally different concepts. One is about dualities and the other is about echoing patterns across different scales of reality. And yet these two laws are not mutually exclusive. In fact, they can interact in fascinating ways. Consider the concept of good and evil again. While they are polar opposites, we can also see patterns of good and evil repeating in different levels of reality, from individuals to societies. This is where the laws of polarity and correspondence intersect, creating a rich tapestry of philosophical concepts. The beauty of these laws lies in their ability to help us make sense of the world around us. They allow us to see the universe in a new light, revealing patterns and dualities that we might otherwise miss. Understanding these differences helps us appreciate the profundity and complexity of these ancient philosophical principles. So why should we care about the law of polarity in our modern world, you might ask? Well, The law of polarity is more than just a fascinating philosophical concept. Its relevance and applications extend into our everyday lives, subtly guiding our perceptions and actions. In psychology, the law of polarity helps us understand the balance between opposing mental states. It's the delicate dance between joy and sorrow, love and hate, courage and fear. This understanding can lead to a more rounded perspective of our emotional landscape. In the realm of spirituality, it provides insight into the nature of duality. It teaches us that light and darkness, good and evil, are two sides of the same coin. This understanding promotes acceptance and harmony. In personal development, it encourages us to embrace both our strengths and weaknesses. By acknowledging our dual nature, we can strive towards a more authentic and balanced self. Remember, the law of polarity isn't just a philosophical construct. It's a principle that can guide us to a more balanced and harmonious life. Did you learn something? If you did, please consider liking this video and subscribe to our channel for more content. It is free after all, right? Thank you for watching.